I'm Kyle Long, and you're listening to Cultural Manifesto. Naomi Pulver is an Indianapolis-based singer, songwriter, and guitarist. Naomi is attracting a growing audience for her finely crafted music, which blends elements of pop, folk, and R&B. She grew up in Colorado, the youngest of 8 children in a multicultural household, an experience that introduced her to questions of identity and belonging at an early age, themes she explores in her songwriting today. Let's join my conversation with Naomi Pulver. Naomi, thank you so much for taking time to be here and share your music with our audience in Indiana.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. I'm a fan of what you do. I really enjoy the songs you're writing, the production, and your voice. It's a great sound that you have.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
It's my understanding you're not a native Hoosier. You didn't grow up here. You're from Colorado.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yep.
Tell me about that.
Yep. From this tiny little town called Carbondale. It's kind of like a hippie rancher town, if I'm going to describe it anyway. That's the way to do it. It's very mountain-esque. It's surrounded by the mountains. So it's very beautiful, you know. Feel very fortunate to have grown up there.
What brought you to Indiana, and how long have you been here?
So prior to moving to Indiana, I lived in California for a little bit, went to school out there, and then I decided to live out there. And then at the time that I moved to California, I got into a long-distance relationship. My partner moved to Pennsylvania for grad school, and then I stayed in California, Santa Barbara, Arcadia area, and lived out there for like about a little over a year, and then realized this is too much and was like, the long distance was too hard as well. So, you know, we thought Indiana was like a nice in between from California and Pennsylvania, which is kind of funny. But also his family's here. So we moved here, and it was really nice to be surrounded by family, especially during like what felt like a very weird, tumultuous time in my life. So yeah, that's kind of the long story short.
How long have you been here?
I think I'm coming up on 4 years now, 4 or 5 years. Yeah.
Has this been a good place for you to start, you know, sharing your music, launching your career as a musician?
Yeah, it definitely has, it was kind of weird because I remember when I first moved here, a lot of people are telling me like, why would you move to the Midwest? You know, there's no music scene out there. That's like a really dumb decision. But it's been kind of the opposite. I've made a ton of like contacts and friends who are creatives out here that like I don't think I would have, I mean, maybe I would have made in California, but I just wasn't finding that. And there's like this generosity too that I think people have here with their crafts and their talents that I haven't really experienced elsewhere. So it's been awesome. It's been really cool to work with. Yeah, I've really appreciated the artists and, you know, creatives that I've come across here. So funny enough, it's been a good launching point.
There is a thriving music scene here. We just need to brand it better, I guess, right?
There's a really big music scene here. I mean, it's awesome. I mean, like, you have Wes Montgomery who comes out of here who's like an incredible jazz guitarist, you know, so there's that. And then also you have like a like incredible hip hop scene, and then so this has been kind of fun for me because I consider myself more of a pop artist, but there's like a pop music scene too. You know, you have like Taylor, you have this girl Tochi. I don't know if you're familiar with her. She's awesome. There's a bunch of pop girlies out here, which is cool.
You mentioned Wes Montgomery. You're a guitarist.
Yeah.
How long have you been playing guitar?
I've been playing since high school, but my goal has always been to shred on the guitar. I just want to be like an amazing lead guitarist. Haven't quite got there yet. I'm like a very classic guitar musician where I just play chords and then I don't really know what I'm doing. So I kind of know what I'm doing, but you know, like guitarists, we're kind of lazy. So that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah. I want to ask you about the sound of your music. You mentioned pop music.
Yeah.
You're a singer-songwriter. There are pop influences. There's R&B influences, sort of like a neo-soul type of sound on some of the tracks.
Yeah.
I've read that as a young person, you were influenced by the Beatles and Bob Dylan. Tell me about your music. And you described it as pop, but go a little deeper.
Yeah. Growing up, I've been surrounded by a lot of singer-songwriters. Like, I think my parents were, the ones who introduced me to Bob Dylan and the Beatles. And, my mom loves Simon and Garfunkel, so I listened to a lot of that. A lot of the, like, Joni Mitchell and, like, a lot of those, like, 60s musicians, And then my brother, all of my siblings, they play instruments, but it was my brother, Lucas, who was very instrumental in my journey as a singer-songwriter. He is a singer-songwriter himself. So, like, growing up, I'd watch him play and perform his covers and originals. And then I did, like, the classic little sibling move where I was like, I want to do that too. And then tried to, like, copy it and then, make it my own too. So that's, long story short, that's kind of how it started.
You mentioned your siblings play. Is there a tradition of music making in your family, or was this just something you all started doing, picked up?
So my dad always played guitar, and he always wrote songs growing up. And then my mom always sang, and on my mom's side, she's from the Philippines, so her mom actually, either her mom or her grandma was an opera singer there at one point. So, there's kind of like this influence of music that's been around, forever on both, like, my parents' side. So kind of just, was always there in the household growing up.
Naomi, as we speak today, I want to share some examples of your work. And the first song I'm going to share, I think, is your latest single, Ticket to Heaven.
Yeah.
Is that right? This is a great track. I feel like in your music, the lyrics, there's often a sense of longing and trying to make sense of this complicated world we live in. Is that right? And tell us about what you're singing about in this track.
Yeah, that is definitely right. When I wrote that track, I was in Santa Barbara, and I was at, like, a place where I was just extremely isolated and was hoping for just something, or I had imagined, up until that point, I had imagined my life to be very different. And so I had, there's a lot of longing, there's a lot of grieving in this track. And, I was kind of grieving a life that I didn't, that didn't happen, that I was expecting to happen. I was also grieving because at the time I was living with this old woman who was my roommate, and she passed while I was there. So I was also grieving that. So Ticket to Heaven is very much rooted in just, like, not living in a reality that is not what you thought it was going to be, and still longing, trying to grapple with the longing and, space in between like your perceived future and what's actually happening. So that is a big theme in that song. And honestly, like a lot of my songs, I think I like to write about just kind of like the more complicated emotions. I like writing about that and not, finding an answer, because oftentimes I think, we live life in just this gray in-between area of, we're not really sure what's happening. And sometimes, I think I've come to a place where I'm like, it's okay to sit with those emotions and to accept those emotions, even though you may not want that to be your reality, and you can move forward from there. But it's always okay to accept what's happening in the moment so you can process and, move on from there. So, yeah.
Appreciate you sharing that. We're going to hear that track now. This is Naomi Pulver with Ticket to Heaven. I'm Kyle Long, and you're listening to Cultural Manifesto. We just heard Naomi Pulver with Ticket to Heaven, and Naomi is my guest this week. The next song I want to play is In Search for a God, which you released in 2024. You mentioned there's a lineage of opera vocalists in your family. There's some amazing vocals on this song. It starts off with almost like a hip-hop type beat, and then it ends with these layered vocals featuring you.
Yeah.
And it has this choral-like sound.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell me about your work as a vocalist, and did you sing in a choir growing up? Tell me about putting this sound together.
Yes, I love choirs. In college, well, in high school, I was in a choir, and then when I got to college, I was in our college choir and the chamber choir, and I was studying classical voice at the time. But yeah, I am a big fan of harmonies. I just love how, the voice is an instrument, and especially when you get so many people in a room to sing a song together and then to layer their voices and then, add the harmonies in, it sounds incredible. So I wanted to add that sort of element to the song In Search for a God, especially because it's In Search for a God is touching upon, my relationship with religion too. So I wanted that ending to sound as if I'm in some sort of chapel, with layered voices, and wanted to do something like that. So
we're going to listen to that track now. This is Naomi Pulver with In Search for a God.
Search for signs of light beyond the other face of my eyes. Search for a sign of you through the pages of my life. Take my body. I don't want it. It's who I am, and this bottle tastes the same. Take my body. I don't want it.
I'm Kyle Long, and you're listening to Cultural Manifesto. My guest this week is Naomi Pulver. We just heard one of her recent singles, In Search for a God. And Naomi, you have a guitar with you, and I think you're going to perform a song for us, the song Okay. Before we do that, I want to ask you about an element of the release of this song. I saw that you were donating the proceeds of sale from this track to Exodus, a refugee resettlement agency based here in Indianapolis, a great organization. I used to volunteer as an ESL teacher for them many years ago. I love Exodus. Tell me why you wanted to support that organization through this song.
Yeah. The cause they support, it hits home for me. My mom, as I've mentioned, she's not from the States. She's from the Philippines. She's a U.S. citizen now, but before that, she lived in the Philippines. And I think growing up, and especially as I get older and learn more about her story, I realized how hard it was for her to, move to a country, to a place that was so completely different from her own, not surrounded by family or any support, Thankfully, she found that support later. But, I think just her story of how just the story of many immigrant women and mothers, how they moved to this country for whatever reason, whether that's to give their kids a better life or, to get access to more jobs or security or just even, to find safety, right? There's so many reasons. The journey to get there is not easy. It's incredibly hard. And, I love the work that Exodus Refugee does to help many people who come to the States and especially around this area to build a life with, dignity and actually make a place for themselves too. So it's a topic that's very near and dear to me, and I am very passionate about the incredible work that Exodus has done. So wanted to support that and just kind of also highlight what they already do, so.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. We're going to hear you perform this song live. I'm going to move some mics around real quick, and we'll go from there.
Midnight, where is my prince? tell me he doesn't exist. Someday he's so far away. Boredom and lonely are two types of friends, but I never had good timing anyway, and I wish all of my plans are yesterday. Will I be okay? Too late, I'm moving away to Indiana. I'm leaving today. Careful, no, though that's what they say. But my head and my heart never lead me astray. But I never had good timing anyway, and I push all of my plans to yesterday, and I wish I could change all of my ways, and yes, I just wanna know, will I be okay? Will I be okay? Hey, yeah. Will I be okay? Will I be okay? But I never had good timing anyway, and I push all of my plans to yesterday, and I wish I could change all of my ways, and yes, I just wanna know, will I be okay? Will I be okay? Hey, yeah. Will I be okay?
That was awesome. Thank you. That was incredible. I appreciate that. Thank you. That had like a Jeff Buckley kind of vibe
Yes.
going on. Wow. That
Love
was
Jeff
awesome.
Buckley. Yeah.
You said you wrote that when you were 18.
Yeah.
So you have like a deep bank of songs that you've written over the years.
yeah.
I want to ask you about the future, what upcoming plans you have.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about the music you've written so far and what's up next for you.
Yeah. A lot of it just touches upon topics of just like, I want to say just like girlhood, you know, whether that's wrestling with religion and your faith, or, you know, writing songs about what does the future hold? Am I going to be okay? You know, or even like recently, I mean, I wrote a song like about my mom, Sweet Mama. You know, a lot of it's just like about the relationships I think I have with other women, with myself, and those are the kind of songs I like to write about, just girlhood and the things you experience. And especially these days, you know, I'm tapping more into that, especially like the more complicated aspects of what it is to be a woman, and how that can just come with some complicated territory, whether that's like between, you know, interpersonal relationships, right? You have complications there, or even just like complications in the world as a whole, right? So yeah, that's kind of been where my songwriting has been going. I'm working on an EP. The releases for all my songs, super slow moving, but, you know, chugging them out. But I'm working on an EP. that, yeah, I've got 3 more tracks that I've been recording and working on, and, don't have a date yet, but it's in the works.
Your hard work here in Indianapolis has been paying off. I've seen you've gotten a lot of opportunities lately. I think you just recorded a music in transit performance, which is a big deal here. Tell me about some of the live performances you've done and anything you have coming up that you want to share.
Okay. I did a music in transit, which was so much fun.
That's a live performance on an Indigo bus that's moving during the performance, or is it
not
parked?
moving.
It's not
I thought it was
moving.
supposed to be moving, so I was kind of excited. I was like, are we going to be buckled in and then we're trying to play our songs? But no, unfortunately, it's not moving.
I need to pay more attention during those videos.
It feels like it's moving.
Yeah.
You couldn't, with how well they like film everything, you can't tell,
Yeah.
But yeah, I did that, and one of my friends, Austin Webster, he was filming the whole thing. And then my friend Lai, who I've worked with for the music video Ticket to Heaven and on OK, he was taking photos too, and also Kai was there. So it was fun to be surrounded by a bunch of people that I already knew and familiar faces. And for that gig, I went with a more intimate set. So it was just me playing, my guitar, and then I had a lead guitarist, Jesse, who's my occasional guitar teacher, and I just love roping him into everything I do. And then my friend, she's a new friend that I made, and she has like an incredible voice, Emily Shepard. So she sings background vocals for me, but she also, writes her own music, and she's amazing. I have another show coming up at the Healer on June 3rd. We have a fun lineup. Emily Shepard will be playing. This local band here in Milligan will be playing, and then my band will be playing. And then after that, I am playing a hi-fi show on June 11th, opening for Morgan St. Jean, which I'm very excited about. She helped co-write Casual for Chapel Rowan, so she's just, an indie pop icon. So it's very fun. I'm really excited.
Well, congrats on everything you've done so far. I look forward to the EP release. We're going to end with another live performance. You're going to perform the song Sweet Mama. Any final thoughts you want to share?
Be kind, know your worth, know your boundaries, speak honestly, but speak with kindness too. Honesty without kindness is just cruelty, so always remember to be kind. I know they're out of the playoffs, but go Pacers.
Naomi, thank you so much for being here. We're going to end with another live performance. This is Sweet Mama.
Sweet mama, oh, your words they sing like bees. How can you, honey, be so sweet? Have mercy on me. Sweet mama, don't you raise your fist at me. Can't help it if I fall in love so easily. But it gets so hard when you're not here. These human hands have made a tear of future plans. Oh, mama, help me. Sweet mama, don't you raise your fist at me. I swear I'll do much better. Oh, just you wait and see. Sweet mama, I can't catch all of the sand. Time keeps slipping through these hands. Help me understand. Help me understand. it's so hard when you're not here. These human hands have made a tear. Future plans. Oh mama, help me. Oh, sweet mama, don't you waste your tears on me. I swear I'll do much better. Oh, just you wait and see. Sweet mama, I can catch your loveless hand. Time keeps slipping through these hands. Help me understand. Oh, help me understand.